Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Preparations are in full swing for the midterm polls. Ballots are now being printed, transmission of data is being tested, and security measures are being finalized. Next week, a nationwide gun ban will take effect. Areas of concern will be closely watched, and mock voting will be held to make sure voters will be able to exercise their right freely without threats of violence or fraud. Let's get on point with Commission on Elections Chairman George Erwin Garcia, who joins us via Zoom. Chairman George, good evening. Welcome to the Billionario News Channel, and thank you for your time. You must be on mute, sir.
Yes, Ma'am Pinky. Good morning.
I can hear you. Okay, happy Friday po sa inyo, Chairman. Okay, I'm gonna start with the areas of concern. That's red, orange, yellow, and green. That's from the most serious to the least serious. The red has about 38 areas of concern. Chairman, has there been any change, I guess, from this year if you had been able to compare this to 2022?
Well, as compared, Ma'am Pinky, in 2021, nearing to 2022 elections, this is actually lower to that election as compared to the present statistics that we have. So the 38 actually can even change, Ma'am Pinky. In most instances, sometimes the classification as the PNP head will come out will definitely change. For example, some provinces or areas are now green, and later on it will become red. And there are certain areas which are presently red, which will become green. Depende po yun sa situation later, Ma'am Pinky. Yeah. But we are going to update our people. We're going to tell them what is happening in the area. But we are going to closely monitor the situation, as you have pointed out earlier.
Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned a while ago, Chairman, doon po sa red areas of concern, meron pong 38. And as you explained, this could change at any time. Do you feel that these changes will be siguro more, you will see more changes as the campaign season begins?
Definitely, Ma'am Pinky. Most of the 38 areas are in the Bangsamoro. And in the 38, at least I think 7 were all located in Region 9, in Sulu. Yung Sulu po kasi Region 9 na siya ngayon eh. But we would like to clarify to our people that when you say an area is categorized as under red category, we have to understand that it is more directed to us, to the PNP, and to the armed forces of the Philippines. It's not about the general condition of the area. To us, as far as we are concerned, we have to preposition our forces in very near these areas in order to prevent any untoward incident or even election-related violence. And at the same time, this is also but this is not a warning to everyone, not a warning to everyone, to the people that their area is not too peaceful. And likewise, this is not a sign that the economic environment is not conducive for investment.
Okay. From there, let's go to the background check. The AFP, according to General Bronner, will be conducting background checks, and the AFP plans to furnish the COMELEC with a report on individuals who they possibly will see would have red flags. Help us understand this background check, and is this the first time this is happening?
Well, according to the Armed Forces of the Philippines, specifically the Chief of Staff, when the question was asked about certain individuals who they believe might be foreign agents or individuals who have a very questionable background, they said that they will have to inform the Commission on Elections because they want to prevent what happened in Bamban, Tarlac. And so the Armed Forces is focusing more on this aspect because as far as the PNP is concerned, Ma'am Pinky, it's really more on domestic security. However, the Armed Forces of the Philippines is centering more on foreign intervention in our election and more particularly the presence of certain individuals here who might influence the election or who are themselves candidates in this particular election.
So there are going to be two groups here, as I understand it, Chairman. The AFP will look into possibly those who might be of foreign influence or who might not have the right, let's just say, citizenship. You know, they don't even qualify to run for the elections. Tapos yung PNP po is more domestic. Is that what's going to happen?
That is what is going to happen, Ma'am Pinky. But more particularly, let's use the words foreign agents. There might be instances this coming election that foreign agents might be here to influence the election, to influence how the voters will think. And that is the reason also why artificial intelligence should be properly watched. And at the same time, the flow of money coming inside the Philippines from outside and the financing from certain groups will likewise be monitored by the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Okay, I know you're at the thick of reparations, Chairman, but have there been any reports of these foreign agents, number one, sir, running in the midterm polls?
At present, we have not received any information regarding that. Maybe the Armed Forces of the Philippines is still verifying the information, the intelligence reports. But during the time that the POGO is a reality in our country before its abolition, as ordered by our president, we had been anticipating that, there were reports that POGO money might likewise be used for purposes of helping the campaign of one candidate or several candidates, just like narco-politics or wetting politics can likewise be used to influence the election in our country. But what is very important is because of the order to abolish POGO in the Philippines, then the threat is no longer there perhaps at this point. However, there is still some reasons to believe that there are still people who belong to the POGO industry before, who are still in the Philippines, who might try to influence policies in the Philippines through the election of certain candidates.
So when I asked you about agents, I think you answered my question on the possible, kasi foreign agents po yung kanina that may be running in the polls, and my follow-up was supposed to be funding, which you had answered already. Chairman, I want to go to this now. These tarpaulin, hindi lang po tarpaulin ha, let's also talk about yung LED of politicians that we see everywhere. I know that you have explained, but maybe it's also important again to underscore why this is not right now, this is not going to be considered as premature campaigning. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, just Ma'am Pinky, just to reiterate to our people, kindly please understand that according to the Supreme Court in the case of Peñera versus the commissioner elections, that they are not yet candidates. They may be considered only as aspirants, those who filed their candidacies from October 1 to 8 or November 4 to 9. The reason is because according to the Supreme Court, the law on automation specifically provides that the candidacies of these aspirants will start only on the first day of the campaign period, which is February 11 in the case of the national positions and March 28 in the case of local positions. In fact, the Supreme Court even pointed out that there is no more premature campaigning in the case of automated election, not as compared or not just like in barangay and SK elections, of which it is a manual election. That is the reason why you can see the proliferation, Ma'am Pinky, of several large tarpaulins that are posted on walls, on things, and we can see likewise in highways and streets. But we cannot do about it at this point. The COMELEC have no power yet. The Commission's power will only come in by January 12, which will be by Sunday, which will be the start of the election period. However, even at the start of the election period, Ma'am Pinky, we cannot remove them because they are not yet candidates. The local government units will still have the power to remove all of these posters or materials.
Could you kindly explain that further, this January 12 election period, and then the formal election period for national candidates on Feb 11 and for local candidates in March 28? What does the election period January 12 actually mean? And what would that cover?
Thank you very much, Ma'am Pinky. well, when we requested the filing or ordered the filing of the candidacy, that's only for purposes of the filing of the candidacy. Indeed, the power of the COMELEC will come in by January 12. And according to the law, the Omnibus Election Code, the election period should be 120 days before the election and should end 30 days after the election, which should be by more or less June 12 of 2025. What will happen by January 12? According to the code, by January 12, we are going to start with what we call as gun ban in order to ensure that several months before the election, there will be peace and order in our country. Number two, there will be a prohibition on the transfer, detail, reassignment, suspension, or appointment in the civil service until or unless there is an exemption issued by the Commission on Elections. So meaning to say, this is really the start of the power of the COMELEC. However, January 12 is not yet the start of the campaign period. They are not yet still considered candidates. The campaign period, Ma'am Pinky, is February 11, and that's for the national, which is senators and party list, and March 28 for local. Meaning to say, Ma'am Pinky, the prohibition, like for example on social services, which I think you will also be asking, will not yet be applicable. The prohibition will only be applicable 45 days before the election under the law, including even public works ban.
Right. But Chairman, ito pong mga tarpaulin at yung pong mga LED na nakikita po natin, when will or when can the COMELEC have actually the right, or do you have the right to take them down?
Within 3 days or 3 days before the start of the campaign period, all of these candidates will have to remove yung mga pagkalalaking mga tarpaulin, mga pagmumukha nila sa mga kalsada because that will now be prohibited. However,
wait a minute, sir. So you're saying that kung Feb 11 po yung campaign period para po sa national, by Feb 8, tama ho ba, kailangan nila tanggalin yung kanilang mga naglalakihang mga tarpaulin?
Yes, Ma'am Kinky, and that's provided for in our general instruction or guidelines for elections. But however, just not to confuse the electorate, the people, the guidelines likewise provides that if it is for in private properties, we cannot do anything. Private properties, according to the Supreme Court, must be respected, especially the right to ownership, and therefore we can and should allow posters or even large tarpaulins on private properties, which can run for two months before the election, and 30 days for national position po yun. 30 days for local position.
Okay, so just to summarize that again, 3 days before February 11, which is actually Feb 8, these posters or tarpaulins and the LED advertisements they have for national posts must be taken down. Hindi na po dapat makita natin yan by Feb 8.
Very clear, Ma'am Pinky, yes.
All right. And then that goes the same with the local candidates when they start their campaign period on March 28, meaning by March 25, dapat hindi na rin po natin makikita yung mga mag-ingat tayo sa biyahe.
Maliwan. Hi, hello, welcome. Wala na rin po dapat makita 3 days before the
Kasi 3 taon na naman yan, hindi tayo pag-iingatan sa ating mga biyahe. Anyway, all right, so that's clear. 3 days before Feb 11, that's Feb 8, and March 25. We'll have more of our discussion with COMELEC Chairman George Erwin Garcia. After the break, please stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. Still with us, COMELEC Chairman George Garcia. Chairman, do you think that this particular issue on premature campaigning, do you think it's about time that this be revised?
Definitely, Ma'am Pinky, it's high time. Congress, with all due respect, should now initiate the revision or even the amendment of the specific provision of the law. Even the Supreme Court pointed out in that case that I mentioned that they cannot do anything, their hands are tied, because there is a specific provision concerning that matter, that they are not yet candidates at the time of the filing of the candidacy. Simply because why is it different when we conduct the election manually and different when we conduct the election automated? Even if they are to file their candidacies earlier, there is already that intention on the part of the candidates to run for public office.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would be filing their candidacies. At number two, Ma'am Pinky, di ba po, we are allowing substitution of candidates in case of death or disqualification. So if you are not yet candidates, how can you be substituted in case you will die or you will be disqualified?
All right. I want to get your reaction to Chairman on the possible proliferation of fake news once Meta ends its fact-checking program. What does the COMELEC have planned, or what do you plan to implement to combat fake news?
Meta and the COMELEC had entered into a memorandum of agreement some 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Meta committed to us that when it comes to disinformation, misinformation, and fake news, they will always follow and abide by what the COMELEC will say and tell them, and will ask them to remove as a post. So we are relying on that commitment from Meta, despite the fact that they already removed that fact-checking mechanism. Kami naman po, we will always appeal to them. We honestly believe that, of course, they are always community, a private community at that. But however, the COMELEC cannot be prevented from regulating at least misinformation, disinformation, and fake news, or removing from the social media posts. Yan lang naman po ang pakiusap natin. Let's see what will happen in case the COMELEC will be making a request to take down certain posts for being a misinformation or disinformation or a fake news.
So it still needs to be tested, because you're saying that there was an agreement, but are you unsure if that will be followed?
Because of the recent development that you mentioned, Ma'am Pinky, at this point, I am not yet sure as to whether the agreement that they entered with us will still be binding pertaining to that matter. But however, they have not informed us of any change of their commitment simply because of this recent development. But however, again, perhaps they are in good faith when they entered into agreement with us, and we honestly believe that they will comply with what they have committed to the Philippine Commission on Elections.
And we hope the same, Chairman. Let's talk about police escorts or / bodyguards, sir. So what is the policy for this before the election, the campaign period, and during the campaign period?
By January 12, all police escorts or those detailed or assigned to a politician or even candidates are all deemed revoked. The license or authority are deemed revoked without any prior authority from the Commission on Elections. And under our present rules, the politician or even a candidate or a businessman who will need protection from our security forces can only be given at least only two security details, unless because of certain circumstances or because of the very nature of the personality or the job or even the business of the personality, additional security forces or security details can be given. That is on a case-to-case basis.
It just occurred to me, Chairman, that January 12 is this Sunday.
Yes, Ma'am Pinky. As early as November, we had been accepting petitions or requests for exemption and requests for security details. And we had been giving certain authorities. However, we have rejected a lot, especially those who are requesting more than what is provided for under our rules.
Tell us more, how many have been approved and how many were declined?
So far, Ma'am Pinky, about almost 300 had applied for, had been issued exemptions or certificates of authority. But as far as security personnel are concerned, of course, members of of Congress, the House of Representatives, are given at least two security details, and likewise members of the Senate are likewise given at least two security details. Secretaries of cabinets are given likewise the same number of security details. And again, businessmen can be given two. Ngayon po, as far as the data is concerned, recently po kasi yesterday, certain numbers were approved. I'm going to get back on you on that on some future time, Ma'am Pinky.
I'll clarify that. I hope you don't mind, sir. So senators are usually given to bodyguards. Should we call them bodyguards? Because sometimes they're called security detail. Okay. Ganun din po ang mga congressman. Pagdating po ng Sunday, tama ho ba? Kailangan na po silang ma-pull out?
Actually, ma'am, nag-issue na ng order ang Philippine National Police as early as the other day, directing the pulling out of all security
I
details
see.
of these public officials, unless the public official is able to secure the exemption or
From the COMELEC.
from the COMELEC. Yes,
Right,
ma'am.
right. And then that's when you said that there have been 300 that have been approved.
Yes, ma'am, Pinky.
So ibig sabihin po nun, 300 mga politiko, would that be correct, ay nabigyan ng pahintulot ng COMELEC to keep their security detail.
Yes, Ma'am Pinky. But madami pa po kami na hindi nabibigyan ng mga security details sa subject sa request. So it may happen that by Monday, by Sunday, when the election period will start, then wala silang security detail. Again, that is a very strict directive and order coming from the Commissioner of Election. Don't ever attempt, simply because baka bigla kayo mahuli dahil sa mga checkpoints, makita, mahanapan, do you have the permit or the exemption from the COMELEC? And if you cannot show any, we'll be filing an election offense cases, not only as against the security detail or security personnel, but
Yeah.
more particularly to the candidate or politician.
I think that was also the call of the PNP Chief General Marbil, warning possible policemen or security detail coming from the PNP on ganito nga po, serving as security detail without the approval of the COMELEC. Preparations, Chairman, for the midterm polls, where are we? And what would you say is the biggest challenge right now?
The printing of the ballots, Ma'am Pinky, baka po akala ng iba, ganun kadali ang printing of the ballots. We have to check, counter-check in each and every ballot. We have to verify manually the ballots, whether it's properly cut, whether yung color ay eksakto ba yung color na gusto natin, na base nakalagay sa ating pong natatanggapin ng ating mga makina. Yung mga pangalan ng mga kandidato, tama ba? Tama ba spelling? Tama ba yung nakalagay na mga pangalan or yung mismo mga political parties nila? And at the same time, sa manual verification, titingnan din, baka may mga blot, may mga blemishes or whatever yung mga balota natin, o yung timing mark sa gilid. Tama ba? Eksakto ba yan? And then later on, there will be verification by the machine. Each and every ballot that will be printed will be verified by the machine. Isipin niyo po, Ma'am Pinky, we will have 71 million ballots. The 71 million ballots will be one by one verified manually and electronic and machine by the machine. So masyado pong mahaba and complicated. 77 days ang binigay naming timeline para sa commission to complete the entire process. And of course, here comes now the training of the electoral board members, the teachers who will be serving on each and every precinct, including the members of the Philippine National Police who will be on a standby basis in the event that there is a need to replace the members of the electoral board members who may not be able to serve on election day. And likewise, Ma'am Pinky, we are on the final stage of our showcase of the machines to all our Filipinos in far-flung areas. Nationwide po yan until January 30. We are going to show to them and for them to have experience on how to use the machines.
How different will it be from the previous one, sir?
We are going to be more transparent. We are going to ensure that the Filipinos will be able to answer the question whether their votes were counted or not. And at the same time, the interest groups, including the Citizens Arm, will have copies of the results coming from the precinct for them to be able to compare the results. And whatever will be the byproduct of the machines, the consolidation system, as well as the transmission, everything will have to be published. And that is true when we publish the certificates of candidacy, even the ballot faces. That is how we are going to make as transparent as possible this election.
I see. So voting time will be from what hours, sir?
From 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the evening. However, for our senior citizens and persons with disabilities, including heavily pregnant women, they can vote exclusively. Again, exclusively from 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 to 7. So that hindi na sila kasabay ng mga
Apo.
karamihan. And But just the same, nobody will be voting for at the second floor or third floor if they belong to the vulnerable sector. And this is very clear. I want to emphasize this. Our machines are pre-programmed and programmed not to be able to send the results if it's not yet 7 o'clock. So pagka mga 3 or 4, the machines will not be able to send, even if the teachers would like the sending.
I see. Kahit tapos na po. Chairman, that's interesting. Kasi 7 to 7, hindi ho ba pagka tuwing may election? I recall it used to be 5 p.m. Pero if you are certain meters away from the voting center and the polls closed, you're still going to be allowed to vote. So now it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and transmission will only happen. There will be no transmission before 7 p.m.
Yes, Ma'am Pinky. For example, in Batanes, you're in Batanes, by 3 o'clock, tapos na yung pagboto halimbawa, kasi hindi naman ganun kadami ang botante. Even if the electoral board members would like to transmit immediately, they cannot transmit because it's programmed, the machine is programmed to transmit only at exactly 7 o'clock. And what is important is the entities that will be receiving the transmission, for example, the municipality of Ikbayat in Batanes. And for example, the PPCRB server, the NAMFREL server, the media server, the majority party and the minority party server, including the central server, will not be able to accept the transmission because it is also programmed to accept only at exactly 7 o'clock.
I see. How, because of that, Chairman, as a last question, for local candidates in areas that will probably be under the green zone, when do you think for local candidates will they be able to find out the winners?
Unofficially and partially by 8 o'clock in the evening, you will know already who is your mayor, your vice mayor, and the members of the Sangguniang Bayan. Simply because, Ma'am Pinky, after the consolidation of the results in the precinct, it will be printing 9 election returns. One of the 9 election returns will be posted already at the walls of the precincts. And at the same time, it will have to transmit immediately to all of these entities. And therefore, all of these entities, including the municipal or city board of canvassers, will already know the results on each and every precinct.
I see.
They will be able to tally and consolidate and have a sum total of the results, even for local, even for national positions, Ma'am Pinky.
Sorry, just follow up. For senators, how soon will they find out? I know, sir, that normally 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 senatorial candidates, that might be a little bit tricky, but at least for the first 6, maybe.
Unofficially, the next morning, you will know already who is the top 10, perhaps, senators. And yung iba lang yung mga 11 and 12, yung mga hindi kagad nakapag-transmit kasi mahina ang signal, kinakailangan dalhin yung machine sa canvassing center. But we have a solution to that. Meron na po kami ngayon na mga SIM cards that can ensure that the results will be transmitted.
I see. Chairman George Garcia, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Pinky, and
happy weekend to you. And that's On Point. Join us again next week, 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.